Hi everybody, I'm Jeff.
I'm Linda.
And I'm Kyle.
And welcome to the Paranormal Pub Table, where we talk about the paranormal at a pub table. We've had some fairly interesting investigations lately, I have to say, and we've developed this new series, which is going to be on YouTube, as we were venturing off into the night, going up to Lebanon, Pennsylvania. We started recording along the way there, and I wasn't sure what we were going to do with it. You know, we do the paranormal pit stops, where we go out and we find stuff to eat and coffee and decent bathrooms to use and, let you know all about them, all about our experiences in those locations. And then we have the investigations too. So what we decided to do is open up a window into the life of a ghost hunter, where we show you not only the investigation, but the main focus is on a behind the scenes type of thing. What happens on the way there? What happens to these investigations? So some pretty interesting experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. We had an investigation that was a little farther than what we normally go, but we're always willing to travel a little bit because, like you said, the travel was involved, and that's always fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But we went to Lebanon, Pennsylvania, and there was a residential investigation that we ended up going to, and this was sort of an old house, and it was one of those that was a duplex that was divided into two, and the women that lived in both of these sides of the duplex were both experiencing paranormal activity.
Right. And allegedly a witch had hung herself in the attic.
Right.
And that was a creepy attic, was it not?
No, it was definitely
creepy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, there was lots of floorboards, and the floorboards in some places looked like they'd been cut purposely, and holes had been drilled in the edges of the floorboard, almost as if somebody had been hiding something up there at one time. And then you could tell there had been something like glued onto one wall, something very large, and it was hard to tell exactly what that was. And it was just a creepy feeling basement. You could tell there was something going on up there, besides just mice and dust.
Yeah, and she claimed a psychic had come into the location and identified two different portals in the house, and the psychic started getting some scratch marks on her and stuff while she was there.
Yes.
Which we didn't really experience, but
no.
Pretty scary for the psychic, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, one good thing about Pennsylvania too is the plethora of Turkey Hill gas stations, which are up there. For those of you who have not experienced Turkey Hill, I'm sure you probably haven't lived yet at this point. Amazing ice cream.
Absolutely, yeah. And good coffee. We just had the opportunity to try their coffee for the first time on that investigation.
Right.
And it was great. It was really good.
Very good. And surprisingly enough, owned by Kroger.
Yes,
Isn't
absolutely.
that crazy?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Kroger, apparently from what I was reading, back in the 80s had bought out Turkey Hill. So they own all the Turkey Hill. They own the dairy.
Yes.
Or is it the diary? They own all that stuff. They got it. The dairy, the diary, they own it.
Yeah.
But a pretty cool place if you ever wander up that way to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Now, last weekend we had a 3 investigation weekend, which is going to be our next grass scrub and ghost episode, where we ventured out to western part of Virginia.
Yeah.
Went out through Fredericksburg, Charlottesville, Buena Vista with a bonus stop.
Buena
Vista.
Yeah, there was a big hoo-to-do about what that was called or how to pronounce it.
We didn't know.
And
we asked some lady at a gas station. She didn't know. She said, I have no idea. I live here. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, we asked another lady, and she finally knew. So we had to, but Jeff still doesn't get it straight.
Right.
So.
But it wasn't, when we found ourselves at the end of this investigation, and these, like I said, these will be in the videos, which will be available soon. We found ourselves not too far from Poorhouse Tunnel.
Right.
Which is a cool urban legend.
Yeah.
Right? Do you remember the story with
No,
Poorhouse
I was going to
Tunnel?
ask. Can you refresh my memory?
Yes. The story is that Well, this was an abandoned railroad tracks that goes over top of this kind of backcountry road. It is a very hard packed dirt road that has tiny bits of gravel covering it. It winds up the side of a hill all the way up to this abandoned train tracks in this tunnel. And the tunnel is all made of stone. But the situation is that evidently there were a couple of girls, 6-year-old girls, that were playing in the woods surrounding that tunnel. And some man just happened upon these girls and for no apparent reason shot both of the girls and killed them. So now you're supposed to hear the voices of these little girls coming through, and they're supposed to say, come on, sort of urging people, but we're not sure urging them to do what or to go where. There was another situation where a woman, I believe she was out at a local bar, and she met a man and said, hey, can I get a ride home? And he, instead of taking her home, he took her up to this tunnel and killed her. So there's a couple of spirits supposed to be hanging out down there, but the one strange thing about this tunnel is that there is a creek that comes down off the top of this mountain, and they have tunneled this. They've cut a little channel into the tunnel inside, beside the road, where the water runs through there, and so you have this constant trickling of water sound. And it comes up and echoes off of this sort of barrel vaulted tunnel, and it really sounds like talking.
Right, the channel through the tunnel does.
Yes,
it does. And I gotta say, this is a cool location because unlike a lot of the urban legends you go to and you can't get out of the car for various reasons. Either the cops have cracked down on it because of graffiti and vandals and hooligans, if you will, that are out there lingering in the night. Ne'er-do-wells.
Yes.
And you can't, like Bunnyman Bridge, for example. From everything I've read, you can't stop and get out and walk around there because I guess, for one, it's dangerous because of the kind of the bend that it comes around. It goes to like a dead end, I think, so I don't know why. But, vandals, spray paint the tunnel and stuff like that. So they made it illegal.
Right.
They made it illegal for you to get out there. And there's a couple locations like that. Crawford Road's another one where it's kind of touchy because the bridge itself is federal property and you can't go up on that bridge, and people do, and it's illegal.
Yeah,
but
it's
Poorhouse,
in a bad area.
Yeah, it's not safe either. But Poorhouse Tunnel is out there. You go up this dirt-packed road that goes up into the mountain, and just this little tunnel. Nothing around. And there's a little area to pull over there. We got out, we walked around. Recommend leaving the headlights on because people do come barreling up this dirt road.
They do. Evidently, if you go through the tunnel and you continue down that road, there are a few homes. There's some residential areas beyond there. So, yeah, definitely leave your headlights on just for safety so that people coming up the road will see you. Because if you're standing in this tunnel and you're not facing the head of this road, you cannot hear the cars approaching because of the sound of the trickling of water.
The sound of the water, yeah.
It's a little dangerous.
And it's so creepy because when you are standing there, we determined the point. It was like a foot from the mouth of the tunnel. And the trickling water, we're pretty sure it's the trickling water, it actually does sound like voices. If you sit there and you're all quiet, you can hear this. And you hear like some lower, like bassy, like, oh.
Right.
And we're pretty sure it's the water.
Yeah.
But it is definitely an eerie.
And what I kept hearing was
feel.
it sounded like a woman talking at the other end of the tunnel. So, I mean, it's one of those places you really can't do a good EVP session and say after it's all said and done, well, this speaking that I'm hearing is actually a spirit. I mean, it's complete, it's like an audio pareidolia nightmare. I mean, it's, what you're hearing sounds so much like voices that there's no way to do a really proper investigation without trying something like maybe a spirit box or
something like that, perhaps. Yeah. Now, speaking of creepy locations, Poorhouse Tunnel is definitely a creepy location.
Yes.
But let's talk about perhaps a lot of people all the time, we do conventions and paracons and mysticons and galacticons and anything that ends in con will be there.
Or fest.
Yes, cons or fests. We love both of those things.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Anyway, so when people come up to us a lot of times, what they ask is, what is the most scariest experience
Yeah.
or the scariest place that you've seen? Now, we've been to a lot of places, and maybe I'll list a couple of the highlights, and we'll start with maybe Kyle talking about maybe one of the scariest that you've been to. I mean, we've been to places like Lake Shawnee Amusement Park.
yeah.
I want to go there.
Yeah.
Fort Mifflin, St. Albans, which is supposed to be the most haunted place in Virginia. Fort Mifflin's supposed to be the most haunted place in the country.
Right.
Weems Botts Museum is the second most haunted place in Virginia. And these are all the, online ratings. I'm not sure how exactly they establish these ratings, but that's what some of them are rated as. All through some haunted cities like Yorktown and Williamsburg and Old Newcastle and whatnot. So, what would you think as the absolute? Let's think about two things. Maybe we'll start with the scary, because I think there would be two things. I think there'd be the scariest location and the scariest experience, which may not be at the same place.
Right.
Yeah.
Because a residential investigation, something creepy might happen.
Yeah.
And it might be something, more startling than has happened at the most creepiest location out in the woods.
Right. Right.
But nonetheless, it's a scary experience.
Right.
So what would you say is quite possibly the creepiest location that you went to, talking about locations?
See, that's tough. Location-wise might be maybe Alcatraz, I think, for me. Alcatraz. It was just a creepy location. Just the history of Alcatraz itself is just beyond probably anything that I even know all about. But I remember being down in the basement there, and it was just the whole feeling of the island was just crazy. Now, I think experience would probably be the Weems Botts Museum, because we were upstairs in there's 2 side bedrooms on both sides of the home itself, and while we were upstairs in one of the bedrooms, nobody could understand or find where these voices downstairs were coming from. It just constantly sounded like somebody was either walking around or talking downstairs. Even sometimes to the point where we would call down to see if, hey, Linda, are you down there? Hey, Jeff, did you just come back inside? And there wouldn't be anybody. But so I really think probably experience-wise, that would probably be my number one.
So I think that probably the scariest location I have ever been to would be the maximum security area of the old jail and museum in Warrenton, Virginia. Now, that's one of those places that the rest of the building was used as a jail, but they still had the maximum security upstairs. And when you walk into this place, you get that feeling like something is there and it doesn't want you there. And there's not too many places where I would go and sit by myself and feel really nervous, really scared about. But this was definitely one of those places. Jeff and one of the other members of the group at the time were over in an adjoining room, and I could hear their voices, but it was still almost this feeling like, I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here. And I had a K2 meter at the time and was trying to communicate with something. And basically what it was telling me was that it didn't want to communicate with me. And I said, would you like me to bring in one of the guys from the other room? And then it wanted to communicate. So Jeff ended up coming in, and we heard some strange knocking noises and things like that were, we couldn't attribute to anything natural. But so as far as scary areas, that was definitely it, because I was sitting right in this jail cell, and there was a mannequin that was dressed up right there, and he's got this like creepy look on his face, and it was nerve-wracking. But experiences, I'd have to say some of the scariest experiences I've had were before I ever got with a group when I was a teenager. The Colonial Parkway at night, if you are illegally, mind you, walking around some of those back waterworks roads, that was about the scariest, experience that I've ever had. You are walking down this road and you hear footsteps, almost like they're mimicking your own footsteps in the leaves, in the fallen leaves beside you. And you're looking over and there's nobody there, but you hear somebody right there beside you walking along with you. Some of the guys that I was with at the time heard growling, noises, and we weren't sure whether this was a wolf about to jump out and tear our faces off, or if it was, something like a bad spirit growling at us. So definitely the Colonial Parkway, scariest experience ever.
What about you, Jeff?
Now I have to say, it's a very close toss-up, because when I think creepy locations, two places come to mind, okay? And these two places are Old House Woods
Yeah.
and Lake Shawnee Amusement Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you why. I think out of the two, I would rather be at Old House Woods alone, with no lights or anything,
Ooh.
than Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. Now, the thing is, Lake Shawnee Amusement Park isn't a horrible, creepy location like you would think. From the pictures, you see this old Ferris wheel and these old swings and all these old amusement rides and concession stands and stuff, and you think, wow, that's out there in the middle of nowhere, it's creepy. But it's not really in the middle of nowhere. From the location, you can see the street lights off in the distance. There's trailer parks around it, and you can see them kind of off the side
Those
and
are
stuff.
scary.
They can be. They can be.
I can say that because I used to live in one.
They can be. But and in West Virginia.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, I like West Virginia.
Yeah, me too.
It's pretty.
I just wouldn't want to be alone in a trailer park by Lake Shawnee Amusement Park at West Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that being said, when you get out there and you see these creepy rides, it's just got a creepy atmosphere, of course. Old amusement parks, there's something about them. Maybe it's something to do with a subliminal, fear that I got from watching Scooby-Doo as a kid.
Really?
I don't know, but it's something about amusement parks that these things are no joke.
Scooby-Doo.
And I think that with amusement parks too, not only because of where someone died or something like that, but also because of all the emotion that was just felt there, good and bad.
That's what I was thinking.
You would think there'd be a lot of energy left in
it's
a
just
location like
silent.
that.
It's just silent.
Just silent.
Yes.
Yep, these rides that you knew were once lit up and turning and laughter and everything else is just
Right.
nothing but an echo from the past at this point. And the history that happened there, knowing the history from the settlers being killed by the Native Americans,
Right.
The retaliation of the settlers, the deaths at the amusement park. They found an Indian burial ground when they started digging out there.
Oh, yeah.
All this stuff added together, and knowing this, it kind of makes you a little biased towards it as well.
Right.
Like knowing that this is just going to be a creepy place. And we did this through the investigation. Not a whole lot happened. We camped there all night, February, about 32 degrees, and I slept in the car. But that's beside the point. Before that, we did the investigation. We caught some cool pictures in EVP. That was about it. Not a lot for one of the reportedly most scariest places on Earth.
Yeah.
But we're sitting by the campfire and we say, you know what? There's this little concession stand that's across the field, maybe 100 yards away from the campfire. And when these people were there on the TV show, the girl, if you've ever seen it, I think it was called World's Scariest Places.
Mm-hmm.
The girl got locked in there by some unseen force that wouldn't open the door for her.
Mm-hmm.
And the door is just a piece of plywood. It's an old rundown shack with a plywood door on it. Doesn't latch or anything. And the owner of the park at the time, he's passed since then, but he told us at the time that she actually had to go see a psychologist and everything after that. She got
Right.
so freaked out.
Yeah.
So we're like, hey, let's take turns walking across this dark, creepy field in this amusement park by ourselves.
That sounds like a plan.
Going in
Yeah.
there and closing the door because nothing's really happened aside from these pictures and, which may or may not be paranormal in the EVP,
Right.
which we didn't discover yet at the time. Nothing's really happened. Let's try this. So we did it, and I walked across the field, went in there, closed the door, and nothing happened. But the feeling when you're walking across there, knowing what happened there, knowing all the
Yeah.
sightings that are there, it just gives
Yeah.
you the chills. It really is.
Right.
But I gotta say, hands down, the creepiest experiences came from Old House Woods, and most of them I talked about,
Oh,
except for maybe one, which is on video, which I hope a lot of people are probably not going to go back and watch that video. I might have taken it down at this point because it's pretty bad. But we went up there for an investigation, and immediately when we got out of the car, we were standing around this little dirt road that was parked across from the old abandoned house that used to sit up there, and we look, movement catches someone's eye, and they're like, there's someone watching us. And I look over, and in the moonlight, you can see the silhouette of what looked to be the height of a person standing by this tree. And we're squinting at it. We're thinking, all right, that's got to be something casting this silhouette, some kind of tree or bush or, some way the light's coming through or something. So we shine the flashlight up and there's nothing there.
Right.
And then we turn the flashlight off and we're looking and we're like, all right, it's gone. It's not there. Not even a minute later, we actually saw it this time step out from behind the tree and stand there. So we're like, all right, we got to figure out what this is. So some people stayed there and I went around because it's on a corner, so I went around so I could get two angles at it, different angle.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see anything there. And at that point, when I walked around there, it had disappeared from the front and it was gone. So later on, we go up to the house and we're going to do an EVP session in front of it.
Was this when the house was still standing?
The house was still there at the time, yeah. And I took the digital voice recorder and I had no sooner, as soon as I set it on the, and it sounds different in the video. It doesn't sound in the video like it did in person. But I set the recorder on the windowsill and we hear this like loud. And you can hear it on the recording, you can hear it in the video if you listen to it. And it didn't sound like, you can hear it more faint on the recording, but it sounded like someone was standing right inside that room at the far side of it, pounding on that wall, right?
Yeah.
The creepy thing about this is that there were no other cars out there, and people, not me, but people had recently just walked through that entire house to see if there was anyone in there.
Yeah.
And there was nobody in there. So, I mean, that was a kind of a creepy experience. And then it was followed by this, like, and you can hear that on the video, too.
Oh, jeez.
Could have been an animal. I don't know what animal makes that noise.
Or cannot.
Yeah.
But it was cool because we went back up there. And we're like, hey, we called, Kim was with us at the time. We said, hey, you got to come and listen to this. And, like, we were thinking, all right, it's not going to happen now. It's not going to happen a second time. So we went up and we listened to by the window, and nothing happened. There was nothing. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, all right, well, maybe it's the recorder. So I take the recorder and put it on the windowsill. As soon as I did that, it happened again.
Oh, wow.
She took off running and grabbed me by the back of the shirt and dragged me through the woods with her. And, like, knocked down a couple other people that were behind us.
Yeah,
I don't know what that thing was, but it was
crazy that
it was a
did
creepy experience.
Well, and the fact that you just had investigators walk through the entire house, that tells me that whatever animals may have been in the house were not there anymore. I mean, an animal's not going to stick around with people walking through the house. So it couldn't have been an animal. I mean, there
never
wouldn't
heard
have been
anything like that
there.
before.
No.
I mean, Old House Woods at the time was like our beat, and we were like paranormal police.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we did regular routine patrols of Old House Woods. Never heard this noise again since or before. So very, very strange.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the house has been torn down. They called it Captain Forrest's house, and that was a very sad day in the life of Virginia Paranormal Investigations.
It was.
They tore the house down, and now there is only a pile of bricks that look like it may have come from the fireplace, from the chimney.
And that was a landmark type of place to us.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's been taken down, and it doesn't have quite the creep factor anymore. But the roads themselves, that Haven Beach Road and the little public beach parking lot that's down there, are still pretty creepy at night.
Yes, they are. They are. And it brings to mind, now we've talked to a lot of people, not just about residentials. We get residential cases often, where people call us up and tell us their experiences, and we go and check it out. But we also get contacted by people who have been out to these urban legends and these haunted locations, and they say, hey, we saw your video. I want to tell you about my experience out there.
Yes.
And we collect a lot of experiences from these places.
Oh, yeah.
So the question comes about when you see a ghost, knowing that it's really there and that it's not your mind. And I'll be the first to say, I never say that I've definitely seen a ghost, but I saw some stuff that I couldn't explain. And I always bring up, Deep Creek Vintage. When I walked down and I saw this figure walking past in that room, and it was so plain to me at the time, I thought, oh, Scott's in there, I'm going to go talk to him.
Yeah.
And there was nothing in there.
Yeah.
Now, the first thing that came to mind was like, oh man, that was weird. Like, I definitely saw something. But then I started thinking, all right, did I see something? Is there any way this could have been the lighting? Is there any way this could have been, like, you know,
Right.
something on the corner of my eye, my mind playing tricks on me. I wasn't
Yeah.
scared by any means. It was a cool place. I wasn't expecting to see anything like that.
Yeah.
But I walked down and I tried to keep going, walking back and forth to recreate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I
remember that.
couldn't recreate what I had seen. But the thing is, I couldn't recreate the mindset. Because the
True.
mindset I had initially is I wasn't looking for it.
Yeah, that's true. I am one of those people that I can say I did see a full body apparition at one point. But the thing that I find interesting is that my mindset during the time that I saw that. Now, I've seen some really weird things and experienced some stuff and heard things that over the course of looking into the paranormal, which was basically since I had a car and could get out by myself. But, you know, never had I actually seen what I would consider a full body apparition. And at the time, I was on the verge of a terrible breakup, long, horrible relationship, and I was really upset. And this was probably one of the lowest points of my life. And I'm driving down the road in Yorktown, almost at the battlefields, and there's a cemetery off to the right-hand side. And my headlights just caught this man standing by the side of the road, facing my approaching car. And he had like this dark blue uniform on with the gold buttons down the front. And he had something white wrapped around his head. And of course, my first thought, and I'm crying at the time. And of course, when I saw this, it like snapped me out of my depression and my upset. And I thought, what is this idiot doing walking down this road in the middle of the night? Because nobody ever walks down this road, even during the daytime. But the fact that my frame of mind, the fact that I was so upset at the time that I saw this, when I've never seen anything like that in all the times that I've been around Yorktown, up and down the Colonial Parkway or anything, it told me that there must be some direct relation between my depression or my upset and being able to see it at the time. And I almost thought, well, maybe it's like, you know, a little gift from God, like, okay, well, she's really upset, I'll let her see a ghost, and then she'll forget all about it, you know, which is exactly what happened. But
how'd you know it was an apparition? Did you look back and it was gone?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, in retrospect, I look back and I think it wasn't transparent enough for me to be able to see through it. I still was able to see the details in the clothing.
So it
looked like a
man.
fairly solid person, but my headlights didn't quite illuminate it like they should have, you know? And when I had gotten past the thing, of course, it looked like, leaned over and looked in the rearview mirror, and where I had just passed this thing, there was nothing there. So it was, you know, I knew I'd probably seen a ghost at that point. It wasn't until later in talking to my dad that he said he thought I had seen a soldier with a head wound, and that the white thing around his head, you know, that was probably a bandage. But,
or he was some idiot that was walking down the road and got hit by a car once, didn't learn his lesson, that's why he had the headband on. And when you turned around, he got hit by a car again.
I don't think so, but I guess it's possible.
You never know.
But no, he was just kind of standing there. He wasn't even walking, and but that was just prior to me getting into the group. But that's always been interesting to me is the people's frame of mind.
The frame of mind. Yes, that is interesting. Now, what about you, Kyle?
What?
Can you ever say that you've definitely seen a ghost? And this is a question that we get all the time, right? People come up, especially skeptics. They come and they're like,
Is that what they do?
wait, are y'all serious? Or is this like a TV
y'all
show
really do
type?
this?
You do this? That's one of the things. But the other thing they do is they come up. Now, have y'all actually ever seen a ghost?
Right. Yeah, that's a common question.
It's so, like, that's so hard to answer though, because
Yeah.
without any benefit in my mind, or, you know, any doubt in my mind whatsoever, it's like your experience, no. Like your experience, no.
Yeah.
Have I seen things I can't explain?
Right.
Yes. Have I heard things that I can't explain? Yes, both, absolutely.
Yeah.
But like that,
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
undeniably, I don't think so. No.
But so could you say with these things, like, would you say that for the 100%? So you wouldn't say for 100% certainty that it was definitely a ghost, just not really explainable. But you would think I'm leaning towards ghosts, right?
I would lean towards paranormal ghosts just because I know, you know, what I believe in and what I think, and
right.
Yeah, or you know,
Right.
like a shadow, or you know, something moving, or a sound, or a voice, or something opening, or thinking I'm catching movement of a little girl.
Yeah.
You know, running up. I think so. But as certain as that, I don't think I can say 100%.
right.
Because I would say yes, but I know that there's always
that
doubt is, how do you know? How do you know 100%?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, you can't say. Yeah.
Now, in your seeing or experiencing these things, was there any kind of mindset that you had in common with each of the experiences? Like you were in the same mind frame or a similar mind frame or anything to that effect?
It's so funny because I don't think I ever really thought about it like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some of my major experiences, like even just like feeling a tug on my hair, maybe, or thinking, I could definitely say that it's all relatable to like vulnerability. I don't want to say depression or depressed, but maybe I'm just a little emotional because of a life circumstance, or just vulnerable because of a life circumstance, or something going on that I have no control over. Or
right.
But I would say, I don't think I would be 100% like happy, peppy, healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, like
or
the
looking,
psyche.
or perhaps looking for it, maybe.
Definitely not.
Right. So this brings to mind, I guess, two questions. All right. And the first one is, does your emotion and your mindset have to do with the fact of whether or not you're going to see a ghost? Which kind of ties into the other one. Is the ghost really there? And let me expand on that a little bit. Take someone, for example, that sees a ghost, and they may be a sensitive. They may have a psychic ability.
Right.
All right? This person sees a ghost. Now, keeping in mind at this point, because there are psychics that can go in there and describe activity and things that have happened without hearing anything, without knowing anything, and they hit the history or a description of a historical figure to a T. Like, I believe in that psychic ability. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. But at the same time, there are people who believe what they're seeing, and they're describing a vague ghost. They're describing a dark figure in a hat, something like that. But I'm standing right there next to them, and I can't see it. So at what point, where is the line drawn that this is in your head or this is physically there?
Right.
And that's the thing that we need to present as evidence. For example, with your situation, you can't say. I mean, you can say what you saw, but we can't say if someone was standing there next to you, would they have seen the same thing?
Right.
Or did you see that in your third eye, per se?
Yes.
And if that was the case, could the heightened emotion have triggered this image of something that wasn't really there because in your subconscious you wanted to see it and the emotion projected it forward? Is that possible?
Or the possibility that the image was there, it was a paranormal, and because of your state, your third eye being open and sensitive to being overly emotional at that time, you were given that gift.
Yeah, given
Right.
a chance to see something.
And that's another possibility.
Yeah.
That's another possibility.
Yeah.
So when you go to a location, and it's happened several times where we've gone to a location and someone's like, there's someone right here with us. I can see them, but we can't see them.
Right.
It's very hard to draw that line. All right, is this person sensitive, or is this person seeing something that's not there?
Yes.
The same thing with the mindset when I wasn't looking for it and walked out of, Fredericksburg.
Doorway,
what was it?
right.
What was that place? That was just Deep Creek
Creek.
Vintage.
Yeah.
When I walked out of there and I wasn't expecting it, but I knew I was in the place that's supposed to be haunted. Could my subconscious have just played a trick on me?
Right.
You know what I mean? Is that possible? But I don't have any verification of that because there was no one else there to see it.
I know.
You know?
I know.
And
Yeah.
then it brings about even a deeper question. Do ghosts exist on a physical plane where three people standing there can look up and one says there's a ghost and the other two look and they see it and they're like, yep, that's a ghost? Or does it exist on such a plane that you have to have some kind of a window opened up into this realm to be able to see this spirit?
Right.
What do you think?
I mean, I know a lot of people say that you have to have your third eye supposedly opened. I don't know a whole lot about this third eye. But you know, I've never tried to open my third eye. But a lot of my experiences
Mosquito.
had to. Yeah, I'm not surprised. had to do with, being upset or being in a bad frame of mind at the time. But, like you said, it's hard because we've been to investigations with these people that, that claim to see things, and you really want to believe that what they're saying they see is actually there. But I don't know. I mean, that's really hard to say.
Or feel too, like emotionally, because there's times where sometimes I do believe that I'm getting images in my head, not visually apparent, but images in my head or feelings, like that I'm actually physically feeling with my own emotions, and they're not mine, or the images, they're not mine. And I know sometimes that could happen to you too.
Yes.
But I have also realized, now that we're talking about it at the pub table, because I've never opened my third eye. I don't even know. I don't know. What,
Yeah.
Keep that third eye shut. You know what I mean?
Shut.
I don't know if that's ever.
But, like, the last location we were at, you turned and you looked at me and you said, do you feel anything? And I looked at you and I said, no.
Right.
But was I trying to?
Yeah.
Could that have been affecting the fact that I wasn't?
Yeah.
Or
wasn't? Like looking at one of those 3D pictures?
Yeah.
Where you don't know whether to put your eyes in focus or out of focus?
Right. I mean,
it's like that.
Like, am I thinking too hard about it? Or should I just be busy?
Right.
And distracted is the word, maybe.
Yes.
And then maybe it'll come.
Then,
then
you would see or feel something.
Yeah. And now I don't necessarily think I think a lot of people, for the cases, there's a lot of different things, all right? There's people that are blatantly lying, but I believe that's a small percentage. And you can tell that. I can get that vibe when I'm talking to them sometimes. Yeah. But then there's the people that really believe what they're seeing. Mm-hmm. But is there some kind of a factor, medication, some kind of a depression, or some kind of a thing that helps them, that's causing them to see something that maybe is not there? Go as far as to say a paranormal hallucination.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is a possibility. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of the people whose residential, investigations, like when we go out to these places, we find that a lot of these people are depressed on some sort of medication for depression. They are, in a low spot in their lives, and they're claiming to see and hear things, and that we believe these people. We think they're credible. We think that they are seeing something. But when we go to investigate, we're not seeing or hearing anything. Yeah. So it really does lead us to believe that something is either in these people's heads, or there's some relation between, the people, of what they're experiencing in their life at that point, like, and their ability.
Or psychological aspects.
Or
their ability to see or experience something paranormal.
That makes them a little more susceptible to it.
Yes. Yes.
That's a good point, as well as the only issue I find with that, the whole thing about what plane ghosts exist on, is with residual hauntings. And this is what I struggle with. Because there have been reports, where entire tour groups have seen a battle being reenacted right before their eyes.
Yes.
Right? Now, when it's multiple people like that, these people can't have all been in the same mindset.
Right.
They can't have all had the same emotional problems or been, I'm sure there was a mixture of happy people, sad people, maybe people that were, just kind of there for educational purposes, probably people that didn't even believe in ghosts, And
no, I think with residuals it's different. I think residuals, you're seeing energy. That's something that if somebody comes along, and if there's 4 people in the group or 1 person in the group, they're all going to experience the same thing.
And then comes the question with a picture, okay? I've not seen all the pictures that are out there by any means. I've seen some pictures that are pretty good that look like faces in the windows.
Right.
I've seen some faces that were, I believe, photoshopped fairly well.
Yes.
But with a residual haunting, where some that are just bad.
Yeah.
It's got like the little white cartoon ghost over it. It's like, oh, come on, that's a clip art. But
that makes me think of a movie every time. The original Evil Dead, the very first Evil Dead.
Oh, yeah.
Watch it, and then there's a scene where there's a moon in the right top corner. Mm-hmm. You can tell it's like, if there's a square around this moon, it's just like, planted right here. Every time I think about it.
But just like that, and I would think with these residuals that are reoccurring, especially there's so many stories with something that will happen on the same day of the year, at the same time of night, all the time. I want to see a picture of a ghost. You know what I mean? Like, if this is happening, this residual haunting is occurring, why is it so difficult to capture a picture of it? I mean, it's physically there because multiple witnesses are seeing it.
Yeah.
Multiple witnesses of different mindsets and mind frames and emotions and ages and genders.
Yeah.
They're all witnessing this at the same time. So I should be able to hold up my camera and see it through the viewfinder and capture a decent picture of it.
You would think so. I mean, but I mean, and there may be a couple of factors involved here. You may have one family that owns a home and they know that there's this spirit that comes down the stairway every midnight on a full moon. This is something that they live with day in and day out. They're used to it. They don't feel the motivation to go grab a camera and like, woo, let's take a picture of this. You know, then there's other times when somebody may have caught a picture of something and they put it on the internet. And just like every other picture, you don't know what's real or what's fake because it's so easy to Photoshop things nowadays. I mean, I do it all the time. I make ghosts and all kinds of pictures, you know, for promotional purposes and things. And
like this ghost?
Yeah, you know.
That's photoshopped.
That's the one.
That's not real.
No. But there's it's so easy to do that sort of thing nowadays that you know, people pick it apart. Even if it was something real, nobody would really know that it was.
Right.
Other times, you're sitting there and you're seeing this thing coming down the damn stairs, and you're like, you know, shit, where's my phone?
It's gone before you can get it.
Yeah, where's my camera?
But another factor that I could kind of go in defense of why there's no pictures is if you think about when they occur, all right? A residual haunting would typically probably occur when it's dark, fairly dark.
Yeah. I would think so.
That's when people report do ghosts come out during the day. I believe they probably do. But a lot of the residuals seem to be, you know, towards the evening. Like at Gettysburg, it's in the evening, or it's in, you know, it's darker. So you can't really just take up the camera and get a good picture of it.
Right.
Now, at the same time, you may not be. It's not like I'm here and the battle's where the camera is. It's like these battles are out in the battlefield, so you can see these men off in the distance coming towards each other. And if you try to take a picture with your cell phone, you're not going to see anything out there, right?
The flash isn't going to reach that far.
For two, if it's dark and you're using a flash, the flash may completely cut through that apparition, and you might not see anything.
That's true.
Other than a mist or, you know, some clouds, but probably not some definite characteristics.
Right.
And then it begs the question, well, what about IR? Well, one thing we don't consider is, you know, you were doing some research on the light spectrum last night.
I was.
And I believe, if I'm mistaken, I don't know a whole lot about it, but IR is on the invisible light spectrum.
Yes.
It's not the visible colors, the visible part, but it is still a light.
It is.
Now, if there is an apparition out there, perhaps this IR light, once again, could act as a flash.
Right.
Only on an invisible spectrum, and this flash going off at the same time as the camera brightens it up too much, or, you know, affects it in such a way with the light shining right through, tearing through this apparition, now you don't see anything once again.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, those are all good possibilities. But there's got to be something to it. There's got to be some reason why there's not more photographs of residual activity out there. But, yeah, very, very interesting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And perhaps let us know in the comments down below there. If you've watched the video this far, most people see 50 minutes and they, like, watch the beginning and then, you know, cut off or don't even watch the beginning.
We just skip through it.
If you've watched it this far, in the comments down below, we'd love to hear your thoughts, and we may not get to respond to all of them. We try to, but not that there's a bunch, but, you know, just the notification thing's messed up or something like that. I don't know. But, you know, we'd love to hear what people think about ghosts. And maybe even on the next episode, we could even read a couple of the comments that people think about ghosts. And I think it'd be a cool idea to maybe, if you have pictures you could submit to us,
we'd give credibility.
Yeah, and we'd like to take a look at them, and maybe we could do a show where we kind of talk about different pictures and what it could be.
Yes.
You know, just give some opinions on them.
Yeah, that would make a very good show, because I can't tell you how often we get pictures from people or clips of videos, and they say, you know, what do you think this is? Or, hey, I think this is a spirit, and, you know, what we're seeing is a moth.
Right.
And you
Yeah,
know, so I
many
mean,
times.
yeah, there's
Especially
you know,
with the iPhones, the cell phones, when you turn on
Yes.
that light and start recording, there's a lot of times, and watch our last paranormal, not whatever it was, gas, grub, and ghost.
yeah,
Watch that video, and you'll see several of the rooms. Somebody even
Yeah.
commented and asked, you know, are these spirits, orbs, or are they dust? And there are dust. If there's ghosts
dust.
in there, we'll tell you.
yeah,
We will tell you.
Yeah.
But these are like, you know, specks of dust. You can see them floating by, or bugs darting out.
yeah.
And for
yeah.
some reason, the light on the iPhone, and I'm sure the other phones as well,
Samsungs too, yeah,
pick them up really, really well.
yeah,
The orbs. It works well with the IR night vision too. Maybe it's
Yes.
because of the brightness of it or something. I don't
Right.
know. But yeah, if you comment and send us some pictures, if you find some out there that are clearly photoshopped, or you're wondering about if the person will give you permission to, you know, let us use them,
yeah,
send them over to us.
yeah.
VA Paranormal at yahoo.com is the email. And you can check out our website, vaparanormal.com, and Instagram at Virginia Paranormal. A lot of our pictures and stuff that we find, we post up on there.
Yes.
And we have some new stuff coming up shortly.
We do some new, cool, exciting stuff.
Absolutely. So thank you for joining us for this episode of the Paranormal Pub Table.